And welcome to another episode of Fantasy Football, where men dream about men doing things for them. Playoff football's here. Football season is over for fantasy speaking wise, but not for the NFL. So we're going to go through each prop, the yays and the nays. And the first one, keep kickers. Are we going to keep them? Yes. Or are we going to get rid of them? Nay. So let's look at the people that voted yes. And just as a reminder, Smoking Hot Grandma is Hedges. We got James with his web toes. If you haven't seen him, it's disgusting. We have Black Cat. We don't need to go into that. We got Iceland. We have the cop that's Scott. We got Bodybuilder Bailey. We got Geoff Jenkins. We got Ditka. And we got Local Fat Kid. I voted nay. Obviously, we all disagree. That being said, I think we all agree that kickers are worthless, but they are very entertaining for the sake of fantasy football. Alrighty, going into Prop B, this is kind of following Prop A as a fix for that, so the vote should stay the same. The yays and the nays, 9-1, which represents kind of the first part of it. So we are keeping kickers, and wide receivers and tight ends are not going to point per reception. We're keeping it as is. Prop C, add 2 more owners to the league to make it a 12-team league. So it looks like we got Bailey and Justin to the yays. We have Smoking Hot Grandma Hedges as a maybe, and then everyone else as a nay. So we're going to keep it to 10 people, y'all. Which is fine, because if people do want to join, we can just add them as co-owners. If anybody wants to have a co-owner next year, feel free to raise your hand. If not, I can have at least one of them on my team if need be. So, Keeper League, this is a fun one. This is actually approved. We had Justin, we had James, Lawson, David, Scott, and myself vote for Keeper, so that is officially happening. We're doing a Keeper League, so that is going to come to another consensus, another vote, if you will, on how we will do a Keeper League, and I've thought of ways to make sure that you don't keep the same keepers year over year. I've also thought of a very entertaining way to make the draft a little bit more exciting. Just because I think the biggest thing is just creating memories over stupid stuff. That's kind of why we do fantasy football at the end of the day. So, my proposition, and anybody else can bring up any other ways they want to do keeper, but I think this is the most entertaining, and let's see. So, my proposition, 2 keepers. We're going to go through the example with Hedges' team. So we have Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, CeeDee Lamb, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, and A.J. Brown. Now, this is on the right where Jeff Hedges selected each player. So I have a couple of rules. So for your first keeper that you get to select, this one, you guarantee to keep this pick. Like, whatever you say, you get to keep them. The only thing is, you cannot select the same player year over year. Now, you can throw them into your second keeper, but that is not a guaranteed. We'll go into that a little bit later. So, for example, if Jeff Hedges wanted to just keep selecting Dalvin Cook year in, year out, he would not be able to do that. He would have to put him in the raffle, if you will, and we'll go into that. The one other thing to keep in mind with this, so if you select a player, if you look at Miles Sanders on the right-hand side, he was selected in the second round. Then next year, so going into 2021, if, let's say, Hedges wanted to select Miles Sanders as his guaranteed keeper, that would be his first-round draft pick next year. So he would not get a first-round draft pick. So this will refrain people from keeping a player for all the years, as if you say that their draft capital is 1 higher than it was the prior year. I don't think that you should be able to keep free agents, but you should be able to keep players from trades. So if they were traded and they were drafted, then yes, you are able to keep them. But in this example, if we think about keepers, running backs typically are only good for so many years, so it might not be as beneficial for Hedges to keep a running back. So, we have Joe Burrow, we got Kyler, and on top of that, if you think about that round thing, you might not want to give away your first-round draft pick. Let's say he went with A.J. Brown. That means that A.J. Brown would be a 5th rounder, which is actually kind of a steal. So, we're going to say in this example, Jeff Hedges' first guaranteed pick is A.J. Brown. For his second The second keeper cannot be of the same position. So that gets rid of A.J. Brown and C.D. Lamb if that's who he were to select. The second part of this. The owner will select potential keepers, Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders in this instance, and then we will put it to a coin flip the day before the draft. This makes for very entertaining moments because you might have two players and one player is a lot lesser. And on top of that, if you want to keep a player year over year, it's going to come down to a coin flip. Kind of like fantasy, you don't have control over it. You've done your best. But in this instance, it popped up tails, so Jeff Hedges would keep Miles Sanders as his second keeper. So that is my proposal for how we should run keepers. Obviously, you can think of it other ways, but I think this is the most entertaining, and I also think that this is the best way of refraining from players kept year in, year out. Prop E, we convert to one division. We got no one to vote for one division, so cool. Prop F, did it pass? Last year it did not. This year it did. I put nay, but it totally passed. That's a big old Y as a yay. So we will have to come up with a different way of the payouts work. I'm pretty sure Justin did a proposal of how we should do the payouts, and I'm totally for that. And that's all we have for you folks today. Thank you for tuning in.